Good Sunday to you, fam. It's your girl, Love. And I'm here with you because I want to talk to you about boundaries and consequences. I do a lot of work, especially with Black women. And one of the things I work on with us is boundaries. Most of the time people understand what boundaries are. You tell people how you feel about something and then, you tell them you don't like that or you like this, but usually it's something you don't like and you ask that person not to cross that line. What we forget to do is, or what we don't know to do, because we're never taught this part really, is to give boundaries. You also have to add consequences. So if I say, if you fuck with my children, my husband, my family, my brand or my name, and my money, I'm going to jack your ass. See? Boundary. Don't cross that line. And then you won't have to deal with the consequences of that. So I think what I'm about to talk to us all about really is going to take for all of us to think in a different way, because we've been taught that as Black people, especially as Black women, that we need to be quiet, be forgiving, don't rock the boat, don't do everything we can to pacify white people, make them feel better about their badass behaviors and their violent behaviors and their constant targeting and hunting of us as Black people. And I know what I'm going to be saying to you requires a lot of courage. It requires you to stand up. It requires you to formulate boundaries and hand out consequences. I know it's going to take you some time to think about it and take it in and decide what you want your life, your community's life, your children's life, your grandchildren's life, your nieces and your nephews' life to be in this country. So, I want to start off a little bit by talking about Mr. William Brown and Mr. George Floyd. Now, most of us today, we know who George Floyd is because this gentleman was lynched on national TV, on different people's videos, taped it, people who were there. And now America is going through this trial about George Floyd. And the white dude who perpetrated this murder, come to find out, wasn't just 8 minutes and 46 seconds. It was 9 minutes and 29 seconds of him putting 170 pounds of pressure on George Floyd's neck and lynching him. And the police officers around him protecting him while he lynched them, and the people around them begging Chauvin to get off of this man's neck, and he wouldn't do it. Okay, so when I look back at lynching, because I don't think we understand our history, for some reason we want to believe that it just happened. It's just happening like right now. Black people, that this is something that happens on a daily basis to us, because our lives don't mean shit to white people. And I don't care if they tell you they mean shit. I don't care if they're singing a song. I don't care if they are a company who says, oh, we are inclusive and all that shit. You cannot have the same behavior with the same consequences and try to convince me that your motivation is different. Okay? Can't do it. Cannot do it. So as I'm looking at what's going on with George Floyd, because I can't take watching this shit every day, because I feel like white people are using this lynching process the way they always have. If you look at if you look at Chauvin, whatever that motherfucker's name is, if you look at his face while he has his knee on George Floyd's neck lynching him, you will see the same look in his face that you see in so many lynchings of other black men and women throughout this country. So Mr. William Brown, he was 40 years old. And I'm just giving him as a cross example. And white folks got all up in their cups and in their ass, and, you know, they're violent and shit. So they went off had one of their little race riot things happen. And this was in, I believe, 1919. And they took this man, he was 40 years old, and they hung him. They shot at his hung body, riddled him with bullets, and then they tied the rope to a vehicle and drove him throughout town. Then they took gasoline, something flammable, put it all over him, and they lit his body on fire. And in the pictures, if you look at these people's faces, they look just like the murderer of George Floyd, meaning the expressions, everything. Like, this is the state of America. Okay, I don't know where all of y'all get it. This is not my America. Cut your pearls and shit. Look, this is your America. You built this shit. White people, you built racism so that you could wake up every morning and not have to do anything more than be mediocre or your best day. All you got to do is wake up white and it's all good. Black people have to be excellent on our worst day. Okay? So, in order to prove to yourself that you run in shit and that you can't have, you can't have white without having black. You invented this whole shit, okay? Now, I say you don't come up with much, but you do know how to make shit, and you do know how to weaponize shit, and you definitely know how to be violent. So they took this young man and they took pictures of him, his charred body. And then the thing that they were doing was they took parts of his body as mementos of the fact that they had been there and destroyed him, you know. And before he died, he kept saying, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. Okay. Same thing we always say, and it's usually true, because we can be walking down the street chewing gum and end up dead because of white people weaponizing being mediocre and needing to help themselves feel good about that shit by saying somebody else is less than them when they're really not. And you're scared that we're gonna find out that we're actually excellent people as black people. Okay, so they were taking pieces of Mr. William Brown's body and keeping it, and it's so disgusting. And you know, shit comes up on TV. I can't sit there and watch that whole thing that they're doing. But I heard the experts say, well, we took a piece of his lung and we looked at this. And, you know, I took his heart out and looked at this. And it just brought me back to all the different times that I've read and studied lynchings here in America and how they did the exact same thing. And they called it all good. Okay? William Brown was 40. Mr. Floyd, he was in his 40s. And white people lynched them, took pieces of them, and they were not held accountable or responsible. Oh, some of them were indicted, but they weren't held accountable or responsible. So here's where our courage comes in, because I'm going to tell you, we're going to have to start doing this, and this is specifically to black women. It's not that black men don't matter, but they're not who I'm talking to, because I do things specifically for black women, because I know when you uplift a sister, she uplifts everyone. That's how it goes. This country would not be a country. It would not be a society. It would not have the economic power it has. It would not have cleared land. It would not have homes. It would not have buildings if you didn't have black women. Couldn't happen. Wouldn't have happened. Okay? White people had already destroyed the shit in Europe. So you couldn't have what you have now, what you live well off of, without sisters, because we made that happen. And not only did we make that happen, we gave birth, and now I'm learning how to say it a different way. We gave birth to not only black children, but white children. And their white fathers sold them. They don't care about you. Okay? I'm just telling you. They don't care. And those white people who do care, then there's an onus on you to act like you care. Okay? I got a white husband. He's asked me, hey, am I racist? Well, motherfucker, if you got to ask, I'm going to tell you the truth. Yep, you are. You're privileged. You wake up white. And the best thing for you is you wake up next to a sister who is fucking brilliant and creative and will make some shit happen. Now, me and my husband work together, and he is willing to use his white privilege to actually be an ally. Or he'd just be another motherfucker to me. We couldn't be together. Okay? So he has the courage to do so. I need for sisters to understand that there is no begging white people. There is no how good you can be, how professional you can be. There is no, there's not enough you can do as a black person to stop them from targeting you, to stop them from fucking with your money, to stop them from hunting you and your children and murdering and mutilating you. There's not enough nice you can do. There's not enough. So what you're going to have to do is come up with boundaries and consequences to those boundaries, and you're going to have to mean it. I know that's tough. I know we don't want to hear this shit. I know it's hard. But if we are going to stop the murders of our people, the hunting, the targeting, the bullshit at our jobs, the bullshit at wherever we are, at school, in healthcare, wherever it is, then you are going to have the courage to stand up for yourself and those around you with your boundaries plus your consequences. So you might have to take you some time and read through some stuff, and get yourself together. But this is a call to action for you to create boundaries and consequences and let white folks know, so we ain't gonna be doing that shit no more. Okay, that's not happening. Not happening. So I'm gonna read a little something out of a book, because I've been so disgusted about what I'm seeing, and that, George Floyd, he has children. And this country is doing what it always does. It is weaponizing the fact that they fucking lynched this man and has no care or concern about his babies. None. Don't care. Because black lives for white people only mean one thing. We serve you whatever the fuck that means to you. whether our death serves you, whether our life serves you, whether everything in between should serve you. And we should make you feel good about the dirty, low down, foul policies, procedures, enforcement of your foul ass laws and bullshit. We should be making you feel better about that and stroking your egos. Okay? Instead of you needing to get up and learn something and develop. You can't compete with China white folks because you're mediocre. I can compete with somebody from China. I study, I read up. You ain't trying to do that. You don't think you need to. All you need to do is wake up white. And as black women, we really, y'all ain't gonna want to hear this, but nevertheless, we really have to stop trying to placate bullshit. Stop co-signing these people's bullshit. If you're a real white ally, then that's what you'll be doing. Your actions will prove that. Okay? Stop asking me to tell you what the fuck you should do or how. Does it bother you if I touch your hair? Bitch, don't be stupid. Okay? Don't be stupid. Go read something. You ain't got no business touching nothing on me. Go read something. Okay? But you don't want to. You want us to make you feel good about your badass behavior. And I need to tell sisters, that shit needs to stop with us. We need to create boundaries and consequences to any badass behavior. Whether you find it in the workplace, whether you find it at the doctor's office when they're trying to tell you some bullshit and you know it's wrong about your body, you know? When they're trying to not give you a bank loan, when they're trying to redline your homes, when they're trying to hunt our children. We need to stop on this whole Jesus wept and forgiveness thing when we're literally being hunted. We didn't lynch them. They lynched us. They lynched George Floyd, and we're supposed to be okay with that shit. And I don't give a fuck what trial you have. I don't even get why you having one. You don't have one for black people chewing gum while walking down the street. Then why the fuck you having one with this motherfucker? And he gets to say he's not guilty. Motherfucker, you had your knee on this man's neck. What are you talking about? That's crazy. And we're all just sitting here staring at this lynching. The lynching is still going on. George Floyd is still being fucking lynched. And we're not stopping it. So let me get here. I love this lady. Her name is Dr. Shola. And she wrote, "This is why I resist." And I'm going to read a little something. And this is for the sisters. Okay? The attempt to shame and undermine black people into silence is the reason for shutting down our experiences with that bullshit. Okay, she didn't say that with that bullshit. With, quote unquote, they're playing the race card. This so-called playing the race card affords us zero advantages. This is about black lives and speaking out about our hurt, frustration, and dehumanizing experiences of racism. It is our outlet to breathe. It is not a race card to play, neither is it a race to win. Because by confronting abusers, accusers, and racists head on, we are saying to the enforcers and enablers of white supremacy that we will no longer play or live by their rules. These are rules requiring us to internalize lived experiences of racism, ignore the erosion of our dignity and relegation to second-class citizens, like the concocted image of the white man's happy black slave who danced to the tune of the slave master with a watermelon smile. As Zora Neale Hurston said, if you are silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. Now I want you to take that in for a minute. I want you to take it in. We need to create boundaries. And we are some of the most courageous people I know. We couldn't have created what we have in this country for 400 years for the service of not only white people, but every other person that steps their foot on this land if we didn't have extraordinary abilities. We need to create boundaries, and there need to be consequences for any white supremacy, white privilege, fucking racism, discrimination, or anti-black behaviors. Period. Period. Dr. Shola said, in fact, many black people hurting from discrimination choose not to say anything or struggle to voice their suffering out of fear of being accused of playing some bullshit, white made up crap about a race card. It takes a lot of courage and boldness for a black person to reclaim their right to speak up, not knowing if they will be believed or if it'll cost them their job, their reputation, their dignity, as this has been the open practice for centuries. We have to create boundaries for white people and their behavior towards us. We have to create these boundaries, and we have to add consequences to these boundaries. Otherwise, what happened in 1619, what happened every year of our enslavement here, on through the Jim Crow era, what happened to Mary Taylor, what happened to Mr. Taylor, what happened to William Brown, what has happened to Sandra Bland, what has happened to Breonna Taylor, what has happened to Tamir Rice, what keeps happening, what has happened to Mr. Floyd is going to continue to happen. If you're waiting for white people to get a clue, they have not in 400 years. None of them. Every single white person that wakes up white, including my own husband, listen, if you had a clue, this shit would have stopped by now. So we don't have time to wait anymore. Wait for how long? We've been doing this for 402 years now. So sisters, you're the most powerful beings that I know on the planet. I don't know a more powerful being, more creative being than you. I don't know anyone who can legitimize and create life in the way that you do, and societies, kingdoms, economies. Wow, I don't know anyone. And I don't know what's happened, but I need us to stand up and be courageous. A lot of us are, and I need many more of us too. And I know it sounds hard, and I know it sounds deep, but there is no amount of niceness, there's no amount of stroking white people's little egos, there's no amount of helping them to feel good about their badass behaviors and the murders they commit that is going to stop them from doing what they've been doing for 402 years. What will stop it is when you say, don't do this, or this is going to be the fucking consequence. I'm here for you.